Hey everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome back to Everyday Consent. Here's a downer of a topic for you, rejection. I think we're all pretty familiar with the concept. You finally work up the nerve to approach that cutie you've had your eye on for some time. You put yourself out there, all hopeful and vulnerable, and BAM! The answer is no. You may or may not handle it with grace, but in general it's pretty unpleasant. You may be feeling a whole host of different emotions. Hurt, embarrassed, frustrated, sad, resentful, even angry. You may feel like the other person is preventing you from exploring your sexuality and fall victim to the gatekeeper myth. There is likely to be a lot going on emotion-wise. Thankfully, you're also likely to find support and understanding from those close to you. Or if not from them, maybe from communities you're a part of online. Barring that, at the very least, you can hear your sentiments echoed through a vast array of media. Be it songs, movies, books, TV shows, it is not difficult to find something out there to make you feel less alone in all the crappy feelings that come along with being rejected. It's something that our society finds pretty easy to understand and empathize with. You can walk up to almost anybody that you know and be like, hey, I just got rejected. And pretty much anyone will be like, oh dude, that sucks, I'm sorry. This semi-universal understanding is, I think, a pretty good thing. It breeds empathy and compassion, which in general are great, but especially are good to be shown if you're feeling down. But here's something that I find interesting. We'll easily dole out support and understanding for those being rejected, but what about those doing the rejecting? Think about it. Here's a scenario. We'll call the two people involved Cameron and Jamie. Cameron has the hots for Jamie and has just bravely decided to ask Jamie out on a date. By doing this, Cameron is presenting Jamie with a choice. And because Jamie is not being forced, coerced, or manipulated in any way, Jamie's answer might very well be no. Jamie may not feel the same way about Cameron, or may have some other reason for turning down the offer. And while that might suck for Cameron, it is totally fair. But it doesn't just suck for Cameron. Jamie was asked a fair question, and is now presented with the responsibility of crushing Cameron's hopes and dreams. That's not fun. Now, there are a lot of different circumstances under which this could all be happening. I don't claim to know what every Jamie has ever felt or not felt, but I do think it's fair to assume that of all the people that ever have or will be in Jamie's position, that there are at least some that do care about the feelings of Cameron and aren't super psyched to cause them pain. And keep in mind that, as we mentioned before, the pain of being rejected is pretty universally understood, so Jamie probably empathizes with some of the hurt that they'll be causing Cameron. Also, Jamie might be having plenty of their own reactions to this. Like maybe fear that their friendship with Cameron will suddenly change or dissolve, or even that it wasn't what they thought it was in the first place. This might make Jamie feel hurt, betrayed, even angry. Jamie could be feeling plenty of other things too, like frustrated, sad, or embarrassed. In fact, Jamie could be feeling a lot of similar things to what we said earlier that someone in Cameron's position might be feeling, though possibly for different reasons. Basically, my point is, I think it's worth keeping in mind that all the Jamies out there are also people with feelings, just like the Camerons of the world, and that they deserve empathy and support as well. Now, to be clear, I'm not claiming that Cameron should be responsible for showing all that empathy to Jamie. Cameron has enough feelings to deal with. Cameron just needs to respect Jamie's opinions enough to accept the refusal and move on. Though, if they're able to show their understanding of how hard it is, then that's great. But if somebody comes up to me and says, hey dude, I just got rejected, I'm not going to respond by telling them to focus on the feelings of the person who just rejected them. No! But as of the making of this video, there are more than two people in the world. Surely, out of all the others, someone is capable of saying, hey Jamie, you just had to reject somebody? That sucks, I'm sorry. The job of rejector that was placed into Jamie's lap is actually a lot of responsibility, at least if they're trying to do it kindly. Cameron has just placed a whole lot of their hope and dignity into Jamie's hands to do with as they see fit. And to figure out how to refuse the offer as kindly as possible, knowing it will somewhat crush them, is not easy and is kind of stressful. Also, keep in mind that it's possible that Jamie has not had time to prepare for this, if Cameron happened to spring this on them unexpectedly. Whew, that's a tall order. Not insurmountable, of course, but not insignificant. Now, I don't know about you, but I never got any training as to how to do that. But in the times in my life when I found myself in a position like Jamie's, I really wished that I had had some. And I doubt I'm the only one who could use some practice. This made me curious as to whether there are instructions out there as to how to reject someone kindly. And there sort of is. After browsing around on the internet, I found some consensus on a few points, such as making your no clear and firm and saying it as soon as possible. But I also found a lot of disagreement on other points, such as how much detail to give as to your reasons why, whether to include a lot of compliments and reassurances with the rejection or not, and so on. So I have yet to find a clear answer as to the perfect way to reject someone. But what does seem to be common is apprehension and fear of doing the rejecting in the first place. And I think the best way to combat that is to normalize the experience. One, by recognizing that it is a common and often difficult experience worth discussing and empathizing with. And two, to practice. In my last video, I mentioned an exercise for practicing some small forms of rejection, so that's a good place to start. But I think we could use even more practice than that. I'd love for there to be a National Rejection Day or something, where everybody practices this, but barring that, we can still try it out a bit less officially. So your assignment this week is as follows. Come up with a scenario where someone has just made you a proposition. Maybe asked you out on a date, or asked you if you want to make out or have sex, whatever, you choose. Then come up with 1 to 3 different things you might say to this person to turn them down. If you have a friend who'd like to practice with you, practice saying these speeches out loud to each other, or at least say it aloud to yourself. You can let me know how that goes in the comments, or an email, or any thoughts you may have. What do you think? What are some important parts of rejecting someone kindly? I'd love to hear what y'all have to say. Thanks everyone, and happy consenting. See you next week.
But I think it's okay. No one's gonna care.
That didn't work very well. I need to get back into focus. Okay, there we go. What do you think?